Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome Aries to your monthly reading. Can you believe we're at the end of this year? I mean, I think many of us are happy that we're at the end of this year. This has been a challenging one. Many of you had great opportunities, but it's always kind of cool to wrap up a year, and we'll do some special things in today's forecast. I'm wearing my sort of holiday sweater to kick things off for this month as well. So my name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. We're looking at a monthly reading here that's going to basically go from 6 to 8 weeks. I always read 1 month and ahead. If you're looking for your December reading, it's already on the channel. We're going to be looking into the new year with this one. And because it's a New Year's reading, one thing that I'm going to do at the end is I may, instead of a meditation and sound bath, I think I'm going to pull cards for the new year. So we'll do probably 3 cards at the end to look at past, present, and future energies. I might also do, what might be more effective is I could do 4 quarters. I'm going to do something special also for the, just for New Year's Eve. So on New Year's Eve, I think I'll be doing all 12 months, and I'll pull some cards for that. So I think for the signs, it might be good to have the 4 quarters, and then we can look at general energies when I do the New Year's Eve reading. So we're kind of in real time formatting the end, so stick around for the end. But the main portion will be channeled messages at the beginning. Then we'll get into the Celtic Cross, and then we'll look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. And then there's a lot of other little tiny components that are a part of this as well. We'll talk more about that in just a second. You can always use this for sun, rising, moon, Venus. I specifically will go into sun, rising, and moon a little bit later. If you like what you see here, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. I really enjoy doing lives, but they don't have as far of a reach. It's actually by 1/2 or 1/3 the amount of people that it reaches. I don't know why the algorithm doesn't like lives, but it doesn't. So you can help me out by liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing. The more sort of activity that happens on this, the more outreach that it will have in the system. But yeah, when I would just edit them and publish them, I would get 3 times the amount of visibility. But I like lives, guys. It's much more fun. So let's make this work together. It's more fun for both of us. You can also join me on social media. I always try to post a reminder the day of. I also put all of my daily 1-card reads on my social media platforms. So they're all listed here. It's usually just my first and last name, no additional changes in spelling or anything of that nature. In fact, that's a red flag, as is anyone that offers a private reading or who tries to message you. I don't use direct messages. If you'd like to show some love and support, I see we already have a few new members and a couple of stickers here. You can do super stickers, super chat, and on replay, you can hit the thanks button. Again, it allows me to do more videos, including some of the members' videos now. I'm starting to do at least 1 a month, and that's just a thank you. And it's a very small amount of people that get that, but I'm trying to give back to the fans that support me the most. So we'll be doing more things like that in the new year. Once I get into my actual apartment, hopefully in the next month here, I can look at the podcast and things like that. So lots of fun changes in the year ahead. Okay, let's get into the channeled messages, which is why you all showed up today. Let me pull up the presentation here and we'll get started. So today we have a very interesting totem that came through. It's the Iceberg. I've talked about it before, but today I was really looking at some unique aspects of the Iceberg because it's a strong and it's an independent. It can be a dangerous totem too, but it has a lot of positive aspects to it. Let's start with one that I don't think I've talked about before. I know I haven't actually. I've probably featured this at least once, maybe twice, but never have I talked about it as a chance to make a clean break. If you look at the origin of what an iceberg is, it's a piece of glacial ice that breaks off and is floating in the ocean. I believe it's fresh water, even though it's floating in the salty water. So there's that kind of like oil and water mix where you might be sort of like going against the grain. But what I see with this is a chance to sort of like really make a clean break. Sometimes just breaking away because of the constrictive energy of the situation or the family or the relationship that you're in. You could be sort of also realizing for the first time that there is this... it's kind of like a wake-up call and you're caught trying to catch up. So let's say there's been a very glacial period, like a, what's the best word? A plateau or a stagnation. You've been in the hanged man energy for a little bit. So an iceberg would represent the fool where, blink of an eye, snap of the fingers, you're being asked to do something. And just like diving into cold water or taking a cold shower, it wakes you up. You take a deep breath and you think, oh, we're in this, we're moving. So when we're looking ahead at the new year, January in particular, there's a chance for freedom, for movement, but also there's responsibility and a little bit of a push for you to sort of like catch up and make the most of that moment. The initial decision to take action is oftentimes the hardest, or the initial sort of like rude awakening is that sort of most difficult piece. But then you think, okay, this is what we're doing. It's kind of like if you have to get up really early for a new job or change up your routine. Initially, it kind of feels jarring. But once you've done it a couple of times, you think, all right, I've got this. I can do this. And that's what I see here. One step at a time with the Fool. It's freeing. It's a clean break. And it's a nice fresh start. And I can't think of a better card to start the new year than the Fool, because it really is the beginning of the major arcana. All right, there's more than meets the eye. The other thing that you can think about with an iceberg is that what you see above the surface is only one fraction of how deep this situation, person, or in this case, this chunk of ice can be. In fact, as I was looking at it, some of the icebergs can be as large as the island of Sicily, just off of Italy. That's pretty darn big. So the cool thing here is that you might be on the precipice of something big. There might be a big opportunity right there. And this is so close to what we're just talking about here. Like something's right there, and it could be like the elephant in the room, but you're not paying attention to it because you're focused on what this person's saying, how you feel about this, etc., etc. So this is a recalibration moment to see the vastness, the potential, that it's a big world, that one thing may be taking up a lot of mental or emotional real estate, but it may be holding you back from seeing the big picture. So let's look at it from the best perspective, which is opportunities may be more abundant. There might be something big right in front of you. So reach out for that. And also think expansively, think big as well. That's going to be essential to you being able to maximize a situation and not get stuck, because this is a time to kind of break through all of that energy. All right, the next card here is, well, of course, we can't think of an iceberg without thinking of some of the things that, not necessarily could go wrong, but some of the things that could affect you with it. So, an example or a case in point would be the Titanic. The iceberg isn't going to move. The ship had to move. They didn't kind of see it fast enough, and so there was a collision. There could be someone or something in your life where you see it coming from a long time. You know that this is not going to work out the way that you anticipated. The sooner you can course correct, even if it means doubling back or going here and sort of like planning again, I've got to figure this out, regrouping, it's worth it. If there's something in front of you, person, place, thing, job, whatever, and it's inflexible, well, that energy of the tower is going to happen because if it's not suitable for you, you'll probably get ejected out. You don't want that. So use this moment to avoid unnecessary turbulence, get ahead of a situation far in advance of it happening. And the more that you say, the more that you do, the more power you have to control the narrative. Okay? So yeah, I would say move first, be the first one. The other person, this can also represent someone that's very stoic. I was kind of vacillating on the cards here. I could have put like the Hierophant too, or the Emperor, someone who's stuck in their ways, but that wasn't necessarily the biggest thing. It was the fact that if you continue to kind of collide or clash with them, that's going to be more sort of destructive and counterproductive for you. So the true energy of you needing to move on was to redirect yourself around a tower energy in your life. It's not necessarily your problem, but that person or that thing or that job, it has the capacity to kind of shake and break you down with it. And you don't want that. Okay. This is cool. Didn't know this, but if you look at the iceberg from the time that it was snow to then the glacier to the time that it breaks off to the time that it gets into warmer waters and melts, it's about 3,000 years. That ice has been around for a long time. So just like we were talking about something big, you could also be on the precipice of something that could be substantial, that could take you through, to the long-term sustainability, like the Nine of Pentacles. So don't just look at a short-term win or a short-term opinion. Look much further down the line and think, all right, this may be a little bit ahead of its time, or this may be taking longer than expected, but once it grows or matures, it's something that's going to matter to me in the long run. And that's what That's what matters here. We're not looking at just something that's like a drop in the pan, right? Stay constructive. The other thing with an iceberg, of course, is the destructive qualities. And if I really thought about it, it was like all the sharp edges. So I love the Queen of Swords, but the Queen of Swords needs to stay upright, not reversed, and basically avoid things like spur of the moment communication, basically speaking before thinking, saying something as a jab, using words as weapons, especially if there's no sort of grounding or, you know, anything that you can kind of go back and base it on facts. So really speak instead in proactive, constructive, and supportive sort of energies. Get in and get out of a difficult conversation. Expect and also ask the best of others. And if they're kind of out of line, then again, think of some of the things we talked about. Is it worth it? Because if it's a tower energy, this may just be the harbinger that it's time to move on. All right, let's quickly review, and then we'll get into our main forecast. All right, so the main thing that the iceberg opens up for you is a chance to break free, have a clean start, and basically get action started after a period where there might have been stagnation. The hardest part is that initial decision, then momentum kicks in. Don't overlook something big. Don't overlook something in general because something else is taking up time and energy. It's about shifting perspective and seeing things from a bird's eye point of view. There's more than meets the eye. If you see trouble and you know it's trouble, deal with it before it gets bigger. If you see someone that is stuck, that won't move, and they're kind of presenting a block, find a way to navigate around them. Whatever the tower energy is, it's probably not worth you trying to change it. It's worth you finding a different direction and circumventing that. Longevity. You've got a chance in 2023 to make some really big changes that could stick around for a while. Let's make them count. Let's make them matter. And avoid any sharp communications. All right. That, my friends, takes us to the next portion of the reading. We're going to take a look at the Celtic Cross. I'm going to get a drink while we do that, and I'll be right back. How's everybody doing today? I hope you're doing well. It's good to see all of you. Oh, good, Mike. My water's right here on the side. I was like, where did I put my water? Okay, so let's begin. Like I said, this can be for sun, rising, and moon. And let's see what the energies are. I'll pull some extra cards at the end to look at what's coming through for the new year. I'm glad some of you got a chance to catch the live. I've been so busy with my move that I haven't had a chance. Well, I'm not moving yet, but trying to find a place that I haven't had a chance to update the schedule. So for the next week or two, it'll be a little bit like the day of or the day before I'll announce things. So thank you. Keep an eye on that page and also subscribe, the community page, and subscribe if you haven't already so that you get notifications. Okay, give me a second here. Let's expand this forecast and then we'll get started. Yeah, this is a cool new deck. I took a moment before I started to make sure we hadn't used this for your sign before. It's listed on my website. Let me see if I have the cover for it. It's one of my newest ones that actually came from a suggestion here. So it's Tarot of Mystical Moments. There's actually even more cards to it, the repetitive ones, so I took them out, but it's a very cool deck. I like it. I think it has an accompanying oracle that comes with it too. All right, let me continue here. I just mentioned that it's good for sun, rising, moon, and Venus. And I had it in the graphic. So yes, just to repeat in case you joined late. Sun, rising, moon, and Venus. And I have a special portion at the end that goes into sun, rising, and moon. Just in case you joined late. All right. Let me just get a tissue because my nose is running a little bit, and then we'll get started here. Okay. So, beginning everything off here, the catalyst that we have is polite declaration. Let me read it first, and then we'll talk about what we see here. So the card was reversed, and it says, you can move in whatever direction you need to accomplish your goals. It's time for you to get out there, claim what's yours, and stay in power. This would be like Queen of Swords reversed. It's kind of interesting that we see, kind of looks like a crab, doesn't it? So it looks like a little crab kind of hiding in the background. So the reversal of this could be coming out of your shell. And again, being concise, being constructive, getting to the point. I like that it's polite, but the fact that this is reversed is saying that sometimes that gets missed. So subtlety, you don't want it to be misconstrued as like either a doubt of what you are saying or trying to do, or not being strong enough. So there's a fine line with this. I think because this card is reversed, it's saying be kind, be constructive, but don't be afraid to say what you need to say. Okay? That's the main point with this one, since it is a crab. Come out of that shell. And the other thing is to have a really hard, like a thick skin. So if someone says something, take a deep breath and think, is it worth it? What are we trying to do with this conversation, etc. So there are some nuances in communication that are going to be important, but you're going to be able to navigate it. Okay? All right, let's take a look at your center card. We have the Knight of Wands. Some of you might feel like you have to kind of jump through hoops to impress people. So I like this energy. We have the Five of Wands on top of this, which is a really cool version of the Five of Wands. It's talking about strategy. A lot of times the Five of Wands is just a work card or feeling like lack of inspiration with what you're doing. And so this is saying, if it's worth it, if it furthers the sort of goal or the agenda, this is going to be something that you can do. And you're thinking of the long game, as we talked about earlier. Chess, you're always thinking 2 or 3 or 4 moves ahead. So act and move strategically. Let's talk about the Knight of Wands, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the Five of Wands. Okay, so a typical knight would basically represent action, necessary action happening. It also means things are moving towards you. And we talked about the iceberg being that like jumping in the cold water and just sort of like taking a deep breath. So there is this feeling of you have to activate and get things done. But because we have the Knight of Wands here right at the center, not only can you do it, but you will do it. And we have you going through hoops. I think it's fine to do 1 or 2 of these bureaucratic hoops, but at a certain point, it's sort of like this isn't a show. So if things, I would say if you have to do 2 or 3 of these things, at a certain point, you put on the brakes and say, are we moving forward or are we not? So this could be someone going back and forth and saying, oh, like if you're revising something, give it another pass, or I'm not sure, let me let someone else look at it. And then at a certain point, you have to say, we have a deadline, we're over budget, are we good to go or not? So don't be afraid. This is where you're coming out of your shell and being bold. So jump when it makes sense to jump, stop when it makes sense to stop, and use the fiery energy that is inherent to wands and sort of direct people. Because knights do what's right, and they're not afraid to fight for what matters. And, they're not just following orders. They have a code of conduct. So there comes a point where it's like, but wait a second. And so you might need to do a little bit of that dance. Listening as much as you can, and then at a certain point saying, are we wasting time on this, etc. Okay? Now we have the strategy, and I think it's going to be an interesting month as I kind of just glance at all the cards. Let's look at them really quickly here. You have one in the environment that's tricky. We have the devil in the environment, but we ultimately see expansion and opportunity awaiting. So I'll look more at this in a moment. Aside from that, I like where you're headed. Okay, so this character, the devil here, could be the one that's making you go through hoops. This could be someone that doesn't actually know what they're talking about. I've had this happen before. I've been at a company before where an interim boss or a junior manager would make you do unnecessary tasks. And if you were to dig a little bit deeper, you would find out that nobody asked them to do that. They were just nervous and trying to cover all their bases. So just make sure that someone isn't making you unnecessarily do things or jump through hoops, because I'm getting a little bit of that, spinning your wheels. If we look at the Five of Wands, there is strategy involved, and you're going to think how much you want to take, how much you want to work. Are you feeling inspired about something? And with the Five of Wands, there is always an encouragement to get back into, you're very close to success. Have you ever thought of that? It's just one away from success, Six of Wands. So this represents the necessary push, which is work, to get to the Six of Wands. The missing component with the Five of Wands typically is motivation. Sometimes it's a lack of strategy, and so people redouble efforts or talk over each other or work over each other. So be the voice of reason, get back into that energy of like, again, why are we doing this? Work with a project manager or a boss if it's work related, and if it's family or other goals, again, you're trying to find where the common interest overlaps. We both have this in common. Let's work on it for that. Okay? And that's all I really have to say about those two. I like that we see movement. There's a little bit of a block with motivation or organization, but you can get through that. The deep past, which just such a beautiful 10 of Pentacles here because we see all the rings of the tree here. So many of you have paid your dues. You've worked really hard to get where you're at. This can represent, difficult work that you've done in school. Maybe it's been the school of hard knocks. Maybe it's just been experience that you have gathered throughout your life. But the 10 of Pentacles does represent, we always see an older person on it. So this is wisdom because the person sitting on this, there's a question of, are other people seeing what you have to offer? Are they ready to kind of accept you with open arms? So in a family, sometimes you can be like an old soul in a young body and you know what you want, you know your direction, but you're kind of beholden to these parental and maternal, paternal energies. In business, a lot of times there's ageism. It hits both ways. If you're too young and even if you have the skills, they make you wait. Even if you're coming up with the ideas and you're the one that should be kind of like championing something. Once you reach a certain age, they start to doubt that you have the skills, even though, interestingly enough, you probably have more skills and more capacity to deal with things because of all the life experience. So ageism is silly. It should be qualifications. You're either qualified or not. So moving past that arbitrary line in the sand, whether it's age, title, education, I'm sure you all know people that are highly educated, but they lack common sense. And there's people that never went for higher education and they're ridiculously intelligent. So these are just, sometimes they're just hoops that people went through. So what we're looking at this month is recognizing that sometimes that hoop doesn't represent the actual passing of something. So you can pass a test but not master the skills, right? And you can pass a test but not remember the things. So what we're really looking at is your discernment, because let's just assume that you're looking at people, places, and opportunities in front of you. Make sure that you look beyond the top level, because we were also talking about an iceberg. So someone may have high ratings, or the reverse could be true. Someone might be saying something bad about someone, but you just have this good instinct that tells you what the truth is, then go for that, okay? Because there's something on the surface that doesn't match up. I think that's all I have to say with that. The cool news with the 10 of Pentacles, though, is you've worked hard, you've achieved what you needed to achieve, you've graduated a lesson, you might be moving beyond something. This can also represent marriage. So some of you might be newly married or just signed a contract at work or just bought a house. Because the 10 of Pentacles can be all of those big things. It's something big that you're saying, I want to be a part of this. And I saw the sort of sustainable or long-term energy that we talked about earlier. It definitely connects to that. Page of Wands. The universe here and the cards in particular are asking you to look deeper and to clarify what is it that you want. The more you know what you want, the more the universe can supply. You have to see it first, which is why that eye is so gigantic on this. Sometimes we're waiting for people to tell us, this is the way to go. This is how you should think. This is how you should act. In this moment in time, the Page of Wands is again sort of like, it all starts with you. The initial vision, which is what Wands is, it's about coming up with things, innovation, discovery, invention. And then the Knight at the center is taking action on it strategically. And then we see success right by the way. I wasn't paying attention to the Six of Wands. So we have the Five of Wands and the Six of Wands. This all tells a very nice story. Good idea, jumping through some bureaucratic hoops, strategically doing so, achieving the success that you want. I like it. So I see good things in store for you when it comes to business projects and just life in general, because all of these are good. And then we have a page of pentacles in the outcome. You can't see it because it's off frame a little bit, but that page of pentacles also represents that people are interested in what you have to offer. So I'm feeling pretty good about things for you so far. Hopefully you guys are open to this and kind of stay awake and aware. All right, focusing now on this Knight of Cups here in the crowning position. Well, this is pretty cool. Some of you might be entering into a new relationship. You might be putting yourself out there a little bit more. It can just be a card of vulnerability. I like how she's using her heart as an instrument to connect to people. Make sure that, I do get this from my guides, make sure that people don't play your heartstrings. You want to keep an open heart, but keep an open mind too, so that you can kind of see through any of that. But if you've been looking for love, or if you've been looking to share something or do something, I think this is a really good month, because when we look at this, you've done the work. So this can represent something that is complete. The idea is solid. It will take off pretty quickly. People will receive it well, and you're going to like doing it. This is also the big component here. Do you like what you're doing? She's on top of a lotus blossom or a lily blossom there. It's worth the work. It's worth the sort of like the TLC that you have to put in it, or blood, sweat, and tears to get to this point, as long as you like it. If you like it, other people like it. All right, Six of Wands. This is interesting. It feels like you're going to have to sweeten an offer, or kind of hold a carrot out there for people to look at, to understand, like, but this is why. So we see her baiting the bird here, basically. Like, to get the bird to fly, she has to put the flower out there so that this hummingbird continues to see it. So sweeten the proposal. Make sure that you might have to put something extra on top of an offer or a deal. So if you're trying to recruit, it's an extra perk. If you're trying to get something, you may agree to do something that will help the seller. Like, let's say if it's a house, there's not as long of an escrow, or there's more cash up front. So make it sweeter for them and things will get done faster. And something that you're willing to kind of like sacrifice with. It means you can get what you want. The plus side is, like, let's assume it is something like real estate. Sometimes you're willing to take on a little bit more risk or spend a little bit more money up front because you've done your research and it's what you want. You don't want someone else to get it. For a job, if it's a candidate that you like and you know that they're interviewing to a lot of different places, that extra little bit, it's probably something that would happen in the long run if they perform well. So if they need just a little bit more of a bonus, or it's another $5,000 or $10,000 on their salary, it's worth it. So there's a little bit of a stretch to sweeten something, but it'll get you what you want. And I think it's going to pay off, because a hummingbird is a high frequency and a very positive symbol. So that's the message on this particular card. The other thing to remember with the Six of Wands is try not to do something just because you want to please someone. Do something because it's mutually beneficial, and because it's the right thing to do, and because your heart tells you it's the right thing to do, and follow your vision. Don't lose track of vision. That's why this magnifying glass is so important here. Okay? Let's take a look at this. I am so happy that the Three of Pentacles represents you in this spread. Why, you ask? Because it represents the ability for others to see your value and see your worth. So when it comes to the negotiation that we were talking about here, they're more likely to sweeten the offer for you because they see the value. They know you're going to do hard work. You've already done it in the past, and they can see in this one that you're going to do it again. You're basically measured by your deeds and by your work. Never do something half-hearted. Let's look at the traditional Three of Pentacles on this one. Those of you that watch me know that I like to sometimes go back to the original Rider-Waite-Smith deck. In the original Three of Pentacles, you will see a person that is kind of like putting on those finishing touches, and we see people kind of looking at that and making sure that indeed it's like done to spec. So people may be scrutinizing your work, and you want to give them nothing to find that's wrong. So here's the traditional card. He's up there with, like a, I don't know what those tools are called, but it's kind of like he's hammering the final details, right? And people are saying, yep, job well done. Looks about right to me. So be ready for someone to ask you, where'd you get your information? How are you doing on this? can you get me this report by X amount of time? Have this stuff ready so that when they do come to you, like, oh yeah, totally, here you go. And their mind will be blown and it'll be good. And that's going to set you into a path for advancement and for good things to come. Three of Pentacles also represents writing. It also represents finishing a course of study, and it's mastery. So the Eight of Pentacles is apprenticeship, learning, still moving through it. But the Three of Pentacles is mastery. So if you set out to do something, you're going to master it, or you're going to do better than you thought. You're going to get more recognition. It could lead to bigger things. Okay? In this particular, I was just looking at this illustration. We do see the hammer. So you always see some sort of tool, and they're kind of like splitting up the tools. So one has the hammer and the other one has some other tool. So there is cooperation that's necessary. And this one actually shows the cooperation a little bit better than the Rider-Waite-Smith one. So those people that have the clipboard in the traditional card, maybe they're too focused on something granular, and you can say, hey, come here for a second. Like, look, walk through this with me, and would you mind giving me a hand? Put the clipboard down and let's look at how this is working. So someone may be too focused on sort of like a blueprint, and they're not focusing on why you made a significant shift, because sometimes we have to deviate and adjust to real life situations, a pressure test, right? This would be a really good time for those of you that are trying to show something to make a prototype, whether you're trying to launch a product or you're trying to demonstrate like an application for mobile device or something like that, or you're just trying to, like, on a portfolio, show your skills. You could do some demos and things like that. Anything that you can do to show and then tell, I think, is going to help you out quite a bit. Okay. It's a great card. Good things coming. You're showing up as a very valuable person. We like that. Now let's look at the gorilla in the room. We've got the Devil card in the environment. All right, so the good news, folks, is if it's going to show up, I like it if it's here. I'd be happier if it was maybe in the past, but either of the past cards. But in the environment, at least you're going to be able to sort it out. Like, you should be able to identify the Devil energy. When I do Reader's Choice, I'll dig into this one a little bit. I always take the toughest card. This is the toughest card. So here's the interesting thing with this Devil. The way that it's illustrated is we see all the cobwebs. So I see someone that is very, they're good at spinning things, spinning lies, spinning tales. They're good at pulling people into their drama. This could also be something where contractually you've been wrapped up in something for a while. So what you want to do is to try to, if it's a person and you can see it, like the iceberg, you're going to navigate around it. You're not going to poke the bear here. You're going to avoid this. If it's someone that around you that's asking you to do something that you know is wrong, then use the facts. Say, you know what, actually pursuant to this, this, and this, we can't do it. You've got to basically avoid stepping into this web, okay? If you're already in the web, I'll look at that in the Reader's Choice, but I think the important thing to think about here is they're always going to be focusing on the next big thing. So when they shift their focus, that's your time to move in another direction. That's kind of what my guides are showing me, because they're always reaching out for one other thing. And that's the last thing with this, is that there may be someone that's just never happy. They continue to want and want and want. At the core, the Devil represents some things that aren't always illustrated in the card. In the traditional one, we see it, but it's limits and boundaries that are restrictive. So in the traditional card, you see chains that bind two lovers that no longer really look at each other. You see also kind of self-serving motives. So the Devil itself represents a selfish energy. And ultimately, it can be something too good to be true, or something, like I said, that you see from a mile away that isn't what it should be. So whatever it is, I feel you're very able to sniff that out and say, oh, that's what Nicholas was talking about. Let's go in another direction, okay? It's around you. It's not you, per se, but you have to figure out what to do about it. And again, I don't think you can't change the Devil, but you can save yourself from getting in the web. And that's really what you want to do this month, okay? We'll look at it more with love, too, in a little bit. But for now, It's just showing up as an avoidable thing in the environment. Things are going in a good direction for you, Aries, so don't worry so much about that. That is like the universe just trying to snag you sometimes too. So we have an expansion card here, the world, and then we have a last-ditch effort to try to get you stuck. Can you see that? So the web wants to hold you back from the world. Expansion, movement, good things. And that's how the devil works. It's, again, self-serving. It's like, no, I want some more. But the good news for you is no matter what, even if you get temporarily entangled in that energy, we still see the world here. The world requires a leap of faith here because it's reversed, which means that you might be looking at something from a different perspective. You might be asked to make a move, a shift, or to release something that you didn't think you would have to. So this can represent literally traveling or moving and maybe into a part of the world that you didn't think you would. This can be expansion, quick expansion, like overnight success, literally, actually. If we look at these two cards, this is the world, this is success, this is overnight success, this is a breakthrough. So for some of you, there could be something where you've been waiting for a long time, glacial energy, it cracks off the iceberg, and then it's free floating and moving fast towards a new destination. So I like it. I mean, I ultimately like it. Whether it doesn't mean like all of a sudden you're famous. What it means is something that you've been wanting happens fast. And that's your success and that's your visibility. And the world can be as big or as little as you want it to be. But there's more expansion and more opportunity if you allow yourself to go there. It's just about being able to take that quick breath and start moving. Hit the ground running. Your final card is the outcome card is the Page of Pentacles. So new opportunity. This can be an offer in business, love, or anything really. It's someone saying, hey, I see you. I'd like you to be involved with this, or I'd like to be with you, or let's partner up together. The page is coming in with some good news, and you get to decide what to do with it. Ultimately, it portends growth. We see the beautiful flowers there. It requires a little bit of effort and energy on your part, but you get to decide if it befits you, if it's something that you like. Gently looking at all of these before we move into the expanded forecast, let's just see if we see a trend here. Because as I look at all the cards together, I get ideas. So the main narrative at the center is there's some work to be done, but look at what happens here. If we look at the 4 cards here, so an idea, some necessary hoops, some work, some late nights or whatever, but an offer, a good offer. You have to concede a little bit or give a little bit more, but it's worth it. There's something that you don't want to give up. The devil could also be something, you have to think, why am I holding on to this? Is it worth holding on to? It can represent that too. If someone's trying to take something like intellectual property or taking a big portion of your time, then it's a no. You can do better than that. So like if you're an artist and they want you to sign a 3-record deal, it might be too many records. Maybe just say, why don't we start with 1 or 2? Let's see how we work together. Maybe you have the first chance at the second, or don't get stuck. Or if you're signing like a lease and they want you to sign 2 years, that's a long time. You don't know where you're going to be 18 to 24 months from now. So make sure that there's not those unnecessary restrictions, because there might be a deal where it's a little too tight. You can go back and sharpen your pencil or pen on that one. But ultimately, that hiccup notwithstanding, then we also can look at this diagonal. You've done the work, it's paying off, and there's more to come. Deep past, near future, and outcome. And why? Because people value you. I mean, it's a beautiful narrative for January. I like the energy. I like the sort of opportunities in front of you. So let's go deeper. Now we're going to take a look at the areas of health, wealth, love, and destiny. This is how I do my Celtic Cross. I like to just let it show us what it needs to, rather than say, this is your person or this is your career. Once we're ready for that, once we've gone through everything, we can dig, and that's what we're going to do right now. So as we look at health, a reminder, I am a tarot reader. I'm an intuitive. I'm not a doctor. So if there's anything going on with your body or your mental health, work with a professional. I'm going to help you look at energy today. And the energy around being healthy and being happy has to do with how connected you are to life purpose. And the card is reversed, so it's really just about not doubting yourself. Some of you might be trying to find your purpose, but it says, I know what I am here to do, plain and simple. The reversal of this may be that you know what you want to do, but you're not doing it. It may mean that you've never given yourself time to think about what you want to do. I don't give private readings, but when I used to, I would say the top 3 questions, 1 was love, 2 was career and success or money, and 3 was life purpose. So purpose and career and happiness and love, they all kind of go together. I think purpose needs to top the list probably, because if you're living your truth, then you attract people who are also living their truth. So your love is going to be happier. You're going to be attracting more successful opportunities. So career and money will also follow suit. You're probably going to be healthier, which is why this came through in health. So purpose is at the core of everything. And that's basically the big question for January. Know your purpose. That's probably what I'll title this. Know your purpose and live your purpose. Once you know that, everything can kind of navigate around it. I had a really beautiful card the other day when I was looking at the star, and you could see it radiating out. It was in the sun and moon deck. It was yesterday's one card pull. And I said, like, when you're in that magical power of I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing, everything radiates around you like the star. So that's what you need to do, is to give yourself enough time to figure out the purpose. The purpose isn't hard. You can put it on one note card, or like this. Imagine it was a piece of paper. It should fit on this piece of paper. And it should be what you want to do on the planet. I'll give you mine. There's like multiple parts to it, but the first and the umbrella piece is to raise the collective conscious. That's it, consciousness. Then I like to elevate conversations around spirituality, demystify it, and destigmatize it. Because there's a lot of things that people are afraid of when it comes to spirituality. And, go back to the Salem witch trials or whatever. When you work with this stuff, people always, say, like, if you're working with esoteric or spiritual, paranormal things, they think you're out there. And then they usually make things up. So I try to destigmatize and to normalize it, because we actually are all spiritual beings living a material life. So that's my purpose, to raise the collective consciousness. A lot of other little things that I do underneath it, but that's it. So think of yours. It could be to educate. It could be to elevate. Maybe you want to go out in the world and help underprivileged or underrepresented or marginalized people. Maybe you want to invent things. Maybe you just want to work on yourself, because in many past lifetimes you didn't have a chance to do that. There's no wrong answer, folks. But think about what's the one thing that you would want to do when you get up in the morning, and that'll help you with that. Once you have that, everything falls into place. Now let's take a look at the cards from a different perspective. We're just going to see what's maybe affecting health or well-being this month. By the way, yeah, we did get the page. That's good. All right. The main thing that I see for some of you is a need to navigate out of a toxic environment, because the devil's in the environment. So this could be a house that maybe there's something wrong. I had to move this year because of things like termites. Or floods. I had a lot of things that were happening in different rentals and stuff. This could also be like toxic mold or something like that. So if there's an environmental harmful thing, get away from that. It can be more figurative. It could be a person that tends to just sort of like bring out the worst in you. A roommate, a partner, a coworker. It could also be your place of employment. You'll know what it is when I say it's something in the environment that kind of gets under your skin. As I'm talking about it, I feel kind of like it's, what is this? Is this the spleen? I feel an activation here, but it's also close to my heart. So for some of you, there's just someone that is dealing with, like I said, they're playing your heart a little bit. One too many times they've come in and it's either everything's always dramatic with them, or they come in and they cause drama for you, and then a day later you're still kind of detoxing from that. So you'll know what it is. That's the thing you need to clear the most. We'll take this out of it, and the spread is pretty good. If you look to move somewhere, it's going to be a positive move. We have the World and the Page of Pentacles. You'll get what you're looking for. Probably will happen pretty quick, maybe 6 weeks, maybe 1 month. It looks like it's pretty fast. Family is important, and they may be coming in a way that there's something going on with someone that you can't help. It could be like, someone that is sick, and you're obviously not a doctor, so you can't So if there's someone that's terminally sick or doing sort of self-destructive things, that could be coming through. The good news for you is if you don't get snagged up in this, I see success, I see development, I see new love, I see a lot of good stuff. It's really just the environment that needs to shift around, folks. Everything else looks pretty darn good. You may be deciding to work out a little bit more. The Five of Wands is actually a card that would be supported by exercise. And it's basically, it doesn't have to be high impact exercise. It's just enough to kind of like break a sweat. So obviously work with your doctor on that, but that's coming through as something you can focus on. I can't avoid the fact that she's holding her heart in this one either. So I would say for some of you, putting your heart first could just be about making sure that you're happy. But if you have any family history of heart disease, blood pressure, diabetes, etc., obviously work with a professional and obviously make that a priority as you're looking at the month of January. Again, standard disclaimer applies. Not a doctor, but we're looking at a heart symbol there, so pay attention to that if you need to. Okay, moving from health to wealth. The altar priestess, the high priestess, if you will. We have preparation, prayer, and sacred ritual. What I like about this and what takes it maybe she's between, I would say this is probably between the magician and the high priestess. The magician stands at the altar. The high priestess is already sort of like worked her magic. This altar priestess card is about showing up every day and doing the work. Ritual, sacred ritual. And so what she's doing is saying, everything you do is magical and you can make a difference with it if you're putting intention into it. So for those of you, you know what I'm talking about. If you are building something, if you really love what you're doing and you put those finishing touches like we saw in the Three of Pentacles, other people notice those fine details. If you're a cook and you pay special attention to the plating, the presentation, the portion size, all of that, people know like, wow, that person went a little over the top. They didn't have to do that. They obviously love what they're doing. They didn't just throw it on a bun. They made something beautiful. So it's the ritual and the love and the joy that is going to make you successful. People will pay attention to that. So we're looking at wealth. Preparation, like I said earlier, have those reports, have those things ready before someone asks you. Ritual, show up and do it every day. And then the prayer piece is really infusing your love and your energy into what you're doing. It is, in the best possible way, something that people want to connect to. It's magnetic. So your magnetic energy in that respect is good. And the high priestess, again, coming through to say, if you can see it, others can too. You have to see it first. If you don't believe it, if you don't see it, if you don't feel it, how do you expect others to? They're not going to, or it's just not going to be as effective. All right, now looking at cards in general with respect to this. Like I said already, some of you need to get out of a situation. So if you've paid your dues, which you have, I really feel like you can leave on a good note. Even you're not trapped here. The web can be something like, they can't live without me. I don't want to leave them on a bad note. I feel an obligation to stay. It can be a devil of your own creation. So in that case, just give 2 months notice instead of 1 month's notice if you want to, or something like that. If you do need to fight for something because it feels like the time is right to make that move happen for you. This definitely is the stagnation. Here's what's cool. I'm seeing Six of Wands and Page of Pentacles. There's something, and the World here. So we're seeing a breakthrough, breakout, spotlight kind of moment. If you've been looking for work, I'm looking a month ahead. It may not happen over December, but in January, it's looking pretty darn good. So keep planting the seeds right now, and we see a payoff happening in January. For those that are creative, there could be a chance to get published or distributed. This is distribution, folks, the World. Distribution, podcasting, broadcasting, publishing. And also it's saying, for some of you, you might need to go somewhere else to get your success. So back in the 90s, there was a bunch of like pop bands, mostly the boy and girl bands, but they would sometimes have more success in Europe, like whether it was Germany or London or just random parts of Europe. They could get success there, and then they came back to the States after they achieved that success, which was bizarre. But it's because, well, not really bizarre, because the musical tastes tend to be a little bit more open, whereas it's more predictable here in the States. So sometimes you may have an audience elsewhere. So find it. It may not be in your community, your state, or your country. Go where the audience is. so that you can move this forward. There'll be a chance then for everyone else to play catch up later. So you're maybe just a little bit on that bleeding or cutting edge, and don't let it get in the way of what we see here, which is success. You have to be willing, though, to go that extra mile, literally, in this one, not just a figure of speech. Let's see what else is coming through. I think we hit on most of the high points. You know, the other thing that I'm noticing, there's a lot of people in the room. There's a lot of competition. So let's say you actually are in a company, or maybe you're in a family. We have a knight, a page, a knight, and a page. That's a lot of folks that have similar skill sets. So you may be in a really competitive environment, and it could behoove you to find a place where there's, less people so that you have more of a chance to do what you need to, or you're going to step it up. Because one thing it's one thing or another. You're either going to really show that you've got it, or you're going to find a place where there's more room to navigate, because there might just be too much competition. There could also be two couples, and I'll look at that more when I get into love, because we have two pages and we have two knights. And that's a very different story. Partnership in business, though, could be advantageous. It could be it's more than just two people. It's like 3 or 4. So maybe you're going to do a small company or a small project with a few different groups. By goodness, in this situation, you need to really get everything ironed out in the contracts. So that's the only thing that I'm going to say. We're going into retrograde, and it goes a little bit into January. So I would say wait until the end of January. I don't have the dates in front of me, but you want to make sure that you're out of retrograde for sure, and that you're not signing up for something that you don't want to do. I think it's a time to pause on on the contractual thing. I think you could draw up the initial plans. It's a good time to develop. Maybe wait until the end of January, beginning of February to get that signed. If you happen to be watching this live and you can do it in the first week of December, that might work too. That's why I'm trying to get my lease signed sooner than later as well. I want to get it done ahead of retrograde. So I think that's everything with respect to business here. Let me see if there's anything else we need to pay attention to, business or money. No, that's it. Last thing here. Actually, there's one last thing. You need to be the one that's looking at the money and signing the checks and signing the bills, or paying the bills rather, because this is a power card, and you don't want to sign that away to someone else. All right, enough with this. Let's move on to relationships. So we have a card that I would associate with the Empress, nurture. And taking care of yourself, basically. This is your opportunity to say, I matter, focusing on what you want, and really taking the time to understand that without health and happiness, no amount of money, no amount of success matters, because it's not going to stick. You're not going to be able to keep up with it. So in relationships, you take care of yourself first and foremost. Now, there could be a figure in your immediate relationships that comes through with the intention to nurture, but can be a little bit strong, coming on too strong. So Empress energy or Queen of Pentacles energy in reverse, they nurture to the point of smothering, right? So what you can do is to really sort of have healthy boundaries, step back a little bit, remind them of what you need and what you don't need. And I think that's going to benefit you and them as well. Let's break this down now and take a look at those that are in a relationship, those that are looking for love, and those that are single and happy. If you're in a relationship, I like to always assume the best, and then I look for cracks in the relationship. So let's assume everything's great in the relationship, so I'll read the devil differently in this case. If everything's great, it's actually looking pretty darn good here, because it looks like you've made a commitment, the 10 of Pentacles, which is one that you intend to keep and one that should last. I like it. You may have just a lot, some of you are coming from a big family, or you want a big family, or there's a newborn and there's a lot of energy around children. So that actually could be the distraction. All of your time and energy is going to all of this that you've built. Don't forget each other. Like I said, the devil card, they're not usually looking at each other and helping each other as much as they should. It is just the lovers in the lowest version. So you can always elevate out of the devil back into the lovers, but that's what's happening here. We have the cobwebs on either side of the spider. So that can be finances, that can be family, that can be expectations. And basically we need to get out of those webs and back into sort of helping one another. So that's what that could represent. It can also be a person or a thing that's going on in the environment of one of the partners that's really stressing them out, probably out of their control, probably pretty intense. And you need to be there to remind them of the support and that you're going to get through this. But there's some changes. You're working through some changes. Again, best case scenario, all is well. There's something out of your control here. We do see good things happening for you in the long run. I would say one thing you could pay attention to, I'm being shown 10 of Pentacles, World, and the Devil. So look at your home. Take a look at things that you've been putting off repairing. And I feel like you could avoid the devil energy with that. So if it's a roof, if it's foundation, if it's electrical, just do what it is that you've been waiting to do sooner than later, even if you just get it started. Because I feel like there's something you're sitting on that could pop up. And the sooner you guys deal with that, you could avoid this and get back into a general happy energy. Okay, let's now look at it as if there's a crack in the foundation of your relationship. Well, it's probably the other partner because I'm looking at environment. What I see here with that is that they seem like they're disconnected. I've got the World card upside down, so their priorities are topsy-turvy. It could be a third party, yes. So there could be a third party. I like to remind folks that third parties aren't always like an affair. It can just be like a parent or someone that's stepping in that's trying to get between you and the person that you love, a friend, any number of people. Your partner might have also gotten themselves into something tricky. So what you want to do, the best thing when the devil energy happens is you've got to come clean. So you're going to help them come clean and clear that out. Is there a chance to reconcile and get past this? Absolutely, because we have the Six of Wands and the Page of Pentacles. What is it going to take? Work. And they might have to jump through a hoop, or you might have to jump through a hoop. But this is environmental. It's not an outcome. So even if things are tricky, it feels like it's manageable. It just might be an in-law, honestly. Someone coming in that's causing trouble, stirring the pot. We're entering into the holidays here with, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and New Year's. There's a lot of reasons that we could be mingling with people that we normally wouldn't. So in a family, holiday gathering, at a work gathering or whatever, avoid the spider in the corner. Let someone else get in the web, like I said earlier. I do think it's avoidable. Spend some time with each other. Do something to really rekindle the passion. It does look like it will be returned. Now, one interesting thing, and then I'm going to get on to those looking for love. There could be an invitation to do like a couples trip or something. That's something that I've never done, and my family never did it. I think it could be not so good. Keep it between the two of you. Don't get other people involved in a trip or in a business venture. Don't work with family right now. Keep it simple. There's too many people in this spread, and the devil's really kind of underlining that. There's at least one too many, if not two too many. Keep it between the two of you. Keep your former partners out if there's some sort of holiday party, unless you have, shared children with that partner. But let's simplify things and try not to bring too many people into the picture. I think that's all I really need to focus on with that. For those of you that are looking for love, fix what's going on in the environment first. Once you do that, go for it. You have too many options ostensibly here in front of you. So I would say a couple of things here. Fix the environment and specify what you want. That's why the magnifying glass is so ridiculously large here. What are you looking for? Tell the universe, be super specific. And when you see it in your mind's eye, then the universe can come back and deliver. The worst thing that you can say is just send me this blanket statement. So send me a man, send me a woman, help me find a house. You're so unspecific on that you could get anyone, including this. If we look at this in the elevated form, there's a Capricorn in your environment that might be interested in you, okay? So it could be a Capricorn. Whatever I'm looking at here, though, it looks like you're on the right track. You may have to get out of something first. You might have to move and let the dust settle as well. But then I see you finding love. There's just too many options in front of us here. So specificity is key, and maybe slowing down and getting to just sort of know one person at a time rather than going on 2 or 3 dates in a week, so that you don't kind of have that busy of a schedule. The one that I keep looking at because of the heart is the Knight of Cups. So there's a water sign that might be really amenable to you and compatible with you. All right, looking at those of you that are single and happy, Still a need to clear up what's in the environment, but a chance to travel, a chance for a lot of development when it comes to school and work, a chance for visibility, a visibility that could lead to travel. And I think it's a really good time for you to be strategic. You should be networking like there's no tomorrow because you've got people all around you. We might as well have like the Lovers at the center instead of the Knight of Wands. But it is a super bright card with all the fire. So I think people are drawn in and they want to see what you have to offer. Okay? So I like it. There's a lot to offer, but there is one thing to fix in every facet of relationship. There's something here you've got to look at. If you're getting to know someone new, figure out a little bit more about what's going on in their life. It doesn't necessarily mean something's wrong with them. There could just be an attachment. So are they truly divorced? Are there still papers that need to be signed? Is there something going on in their family or in their health? It's something around them, and you want to get to know that as well, okay? And there could just be a revelation coming through too. The good news is near future is success, and outcome is pretty good. It's just a change of view, a change of direction a little bit. Okay, looking at our destiny card, we have the spirit animal card coming through. It says, thank you for blessing me with love. We have what looks like, is that kind of like a falcon, isn't it? But what I see with this is, this for me, spirit animal. For some of you, you might be spending a little bit more time with pets. You might be spending a little bit more time in nature. You might also be paying more attention to the totems around you. So when I take a walk with Apollo, I look at what comes through. Are there a lot of ravens or crows? Do I see a bunch of earthworms? Does a hummingbird come in front of me? Each one of those represents something different. Hummingbird is to elevate your thoughts. The earthworm is to focus on what lies beneath. The ravens are trying to get me to pay attention to something. They're squawking and they're saying, are you listening? Why aren't you doing this? So each totem in nature, you're being given messages each and every day here. This is also saying follow your instincts. If we just think of animal instincts, you know best what's going to work for you. You know what not to do as well. Okay. Let's take a look now at a big idea card. The big idea is an overarching connective thread that can help you be as successful as possible. So let's see what the cards have to offer on this. Three of Wands, super auspicious message coming through for this. All right, so things are headed in the right direction. This kind of reminds me of that story Rapunzel, right? Isn't that the one where she throws down her hair? So part of this is because it's kind of referencing that old fairy tale or that old sort of like story. To make something happen, you may need to, it's almost like lasso it, because a traditional Three of Wands, we would see the ships coming in. She actually is holding the ship here. But typically, you would see the ships coming in. I'm imagining that these kind of look like rope to me. And there's another Three of Wands in Fountain Tarot, I think, where he's kind of swinging the rope like a cowboy. So this is somewhere between the two. The Rapunzel piece, or the tangled piece, is basically she had to kind of like throw down her hair in order to allow someone to come up. So you have to initiate the conversation. This is what I want. And you have to kind of like throw the lasso out there and say, let's do this. So you're initiating a conversation. You're extending a hand. You're basically making it easy for the other person. So when it comes to love, don't play games. Don't wait for them to ask you. Don't wait 2 days to call back and all that nonsense. If you're interested, say you're interested. Same thing with a job. Same thing with the house. Whatever it is you're trying to do, say, hey, I've got a deadline. This is what I want. Are we on board? Because I'm ready. Are you ready? And you don't have to put pressure too much. Just say, I'm ready. Like, let's call me when you're prepared. And just kind of like put it out there. Because there's more than one opportunity waiting for you. We got, like I said, a couple pages, a couple nights. Each one of these wands could represent one of those. Things are going to happen rapidly. Things are already happening. So the sooner you wake up to that and the sooner you do something with or about it, the better the month is going to be for you. Okay, let's move on to blessings and blocks, just like it sounds, something to embrace, something to be cautious of. The blessing is temperance reversed, and the block is strength. That's that kind of very strong energy that we talked about before when I was looking at the nurturing energy, which was Empress. Empress and Strength and Queen of Pentacles all have a very similar energy. But let's start first with Temperance. So it's your blessing, but it's reversed. So what it's saying is things may be happening a little bit slower initially than expected, but that doesn't mean, like I said, that they won't take off in the long run. It's saying don't act hastily. You've actually set things up just fine. You are protected. We see that parasol or that umbrella above her, and we see all of the doves coming through. Good news is en route. And we see the dragonflies as well. Lots of elevated symbols here. Slow down, listen to yourself, listen to the information that's coming in, and don't get ahead of yourself. I think that's the important thing with this, okay? So you're right on track. Don't rush. Now let's look at what's coming through as the block. So someone may be trying to push you to do something that you don't want to do. Usually with the Strength card, we would see her hands in the mouth trying to make it move. She's kind of got it there. This poor lion or beast is looking very tired. And there comes a point sometimes where people wear you down, right? If you get asked questions enough, you're like, whatever, just do it. Or if someone keeps saying, isn't that right? Or don't you agree? Sometimes it wears you down and you're like, that's fine. Don't say it if you don't mean it, and don't say it if it's not true. So if they're pushing you to say, well, just do this, just show up. No. Isn't that right? No, it's not. But I thought you wanted this. No, that's what you've been saying, not what I wanted. So what you have to come through is counter the devil, which is basically strength in disguise. And this is just a strong person that is used to getting their way. And this is your chance to actually become strength and to fight back and say no. Because there's a chance for you to, sorry about that, I was probably loud. There's a chance for you to absolutely push back on that and not fall victim to that sort of energy. And that's the only block there, is sometimes not wanting to put up the fight because the person is a little tricky. It's worth the fight, folks, if it's something that matters. Looking at it from a different perspective, focus on health and well-being. Maybe you're burning the candle at both ends. Maybe you're just tired. Take a day off. Take a vacation. If you keep pushing yourself, more likely than not, you're not going to be super productive. We need to keep into that Three of Pentacles energy here that we see in the corner. You don't want to lose sight of the quality. At the end of the day, that's what people are looking at from you, is basically to make sure that you have the quality that we see in this card. So don't lose that quality control just because you're a little bit exhausted. Okay, so we're now going to take a look at the viewers and readers' choices. And let's turn the camera down. I already remembered what I was going to look at. I'm going to look at the Devil card because it's the toughest one, and I always look at the toughest one. So we'll do that. Let's see what you can focus on here. I'm going to pull a few different things up. So let me start the viewer poll here, and we'll get this going. All right, so let's see what's going on here. Okay. This one, I mean, it's easy to say know what you want, but I'm going to ask a question like how to clarify what you want. Okay. How to stay motivated. Let's see what else is going on here that needs some attention. The other thing here is maybe like how to sweeten an offer. I'll just put how to negotiate. And I think that's it. I think those are the most important pieces. Oh, purpose. Yeah, I'll put it there too. Finding your purpose. Okay. There you go. You got plenty of choices. I'm going to focus on the energy of limitations. Why did the Devil card come up? Why is it in the environment? What do we need to know about it? All right, so clarifying the energy of the Devil, we have the Five of Cups, hard to see because it's off camera, Five of Cups in reverse. So this is a perspective card, but what needs to happen first is the grieving. So invariably, this is a card that comes through when you've gone through something difficult and there's part of you that's stuck in the past or part of you that's focusing more on grieving. In this particular card, we see that she's holding, this sort of start of a tree where there's still flowers that are blooming, but there's a few that have fallen, and she's looking at what she's lost, not what she has. Let's look at the traditional one because it tells the story just a little bit better. I know what's on it, so I'm going to tell you what I want to focus on. What I want to focus on is that there's always incoming love or opportunity. If it follows the Rider-Waite-Smith card, you will see 2 cups behind the main figure. And the grieving period lasts however long that they want to, but when they're done, love, opportunity, support, at least 1 or 2 good things is right around the corner. Yes, some things have been lost, but look at what's there to gain. Kind of interesting. I didn't notice this before, but we're right on the holiday season. Look at how we've got like wine, but it's like red and green. It's very holiday colors. There's a little bit of burgundy on the other one. But for some of you, the holiday period may just be the end of this sort of struggle. And then we're seeing the beginning of the year, January and February, kicking off in a better direction. I've looked at this card a lot, but I never noticed that it's probably grass, but it looks like there's red and green liquid coming out of those. So to me, that very much reads like holiday season because of like the trees and the berries and all the holiday colors. So if you can push through this month, I'm reading it live in December, I feel like January is going to be the reward, the thing that you're looking for. So don't lose hope. And don't miss something beautiful that's sitting there just because something didn't work out in the past. Okay? Let's see what you've chosen for me. Welcome to the new members, by the way, and thanks for the stickers. I'll say thank you at the end as well. Okay, we have a resounding winner, which is how to clarify what you want. So let me just look one more time. Make sure that, yes. So to clarify, it's not purpose. Okay, so we're looking at really speaking up and being clear on something so that people understand. We're looking at the Page of Wands. Okay, got it. So clarifying this magnifying glass in the Page of Wands. Okay, I like it. So we got the Wheel of Fortune coming through for this. Don't be afraid to talk about money. It's important. So for those of you in a career or even a relationship situation where money is never discussed, it feels like this is also kind of like that devil energy or the elephant in the room. It's important to talk about plans and plans with money and development and like where you see yourself. And that's going to be important to make sure that you're doing what makes you tick, because I'm looking at this and we see all the clockwork inside. We also see the heart. So if you don't feel it, don't do it. That's the first cog. Time is kind of like a relative thing. It's on the outside. She's holding the clock right here. What's more important is how she feels, and also like we're looking at the Wheel of Fortune. So how much resources are coming in. So too often, there's no discussion of money. Like when I graduated from school, I don't think anybody told me what I was supposed to be making. I was originally like a designer, web designer, and later I moved into art direction and production and some other things. But like I remember trying to think, well, how do you price your skills, especially if you're freelancing? There's no open discussion in school or even once you get into the office. So I think it would be cool if if it was clear, like a title got a certain amount, irrespective of gender. And if you have the experience, you get this pay amount. If you do extra skills or you do this much work over this amount of time, you get more. It shouldn't be something that's secret. But sometimes we don't talk about money. In a relationship, you should. You should talk about if you have any debt, if you have any history with problems with money or something like that. Get it out, air it out earlier. But when it comes to what could be holding you back, don't be afraid to negotiate a little bit higher. So if you are getting a contract, if you are trying to do something, really put out there what it is that you need with respect to the money. The other thing is prioritizing personal development and movement. The Wheel of Fortune has to do with that. So in this year ahead, we haven't even looked at the quarters of the year, but the thing that's coming through for you is a focus on wealth and personal development. And so don't be afraid to talk about those things. They're not often discussed, but it could be beneficial at this moment in time. Okay, let's move on from the viewers and readers' choice to the sun, rising, and moon messages. Someone asked earlier if we could do that, or like if this counts for all of that. So yes, it does. And now we're specifically digging into that. It can also be Venus or any other aspect of your chart, but these are the three that I look at and encourage you to as well. Sun, rising, and moon. Okay. We'll begin with sun sign messages first. We have the Seven of Pentacles, slow and steady growth. It is reversed. So it's saying don't overcommit, don't overstretch. This is kind of like a sister or brother card to the Seven of Swords, interestingly enough, the way that I read. Because with the Seven of Pentacles, you've done the work to improve, to build, to grow, but there could still be this desire to want to please everyone and to overstretch. Even when you know in your head that you shouldn't, if you do over promise and under deliver, it constitutes like a Seven of Swords. You said you were going to do it and you didn't. So you're not showing up as accountable. So you can avoid it. Don't do that. These are distant relatives, but they're related. The good news with this is it's recovery. So this can be health recovery, emotional or mental recovery, and or financial recovery, or a combination of the aforementioned, because a lot of times they all kind of bunch up at once. Don't push it. Understand your limits. And if you do that, it's going to be a very good month. The next card in this is the apprenticeship or movement card of the Eight of Pentacles. It's also just a really good card for having more than enough. We see things in this sort of nice, smooth, oiled machine, which is part of what we were looking at here. So I feel like you're already headed in that direction. Okay, so know your limits, speak up, and don't rush things. I think that's the key here. But I do think things are on the improving end of things, so don't give up on that. Okay, focusing now on the rising signs. We have the 10 of Swords here. If you are Aries rising, it is reversed. So it's a decision now not to give in to negative speech, negative thought, or people that are trying to force you to do something here. Because a lot of this has to do with mental. I like the way this card is illustrated. So people are saying things, maybe hurtful things, maybe untruthful things, or they're just criticizing you. Here's the thing, like if you're doing a good job, if you're doing something that is affecting change or moving the needle forward, a lot of times you're just not going to make people happy. And so it's important to not pay it too much mind. The people that know you and love what you're doing, they're going to understand that. The other people, you can't worry about it. This is also a decision to prioritize health. We saw that strength card earlier. So for some of you, this can be saying, I'm no longer going to burn the candle at both ends. So for those of you where the devil connects to a toxic work environment, this is saying, I can't work all the time. I can't deal with a negative boss or, low morale, etc. I have to get to a place where my heart, my head, my mind, my body, my spirit is in a better space. So it starts in the brain first. You think to yourself, I'm done with this. It is a full stop card. Let's just look at the traditional one for a second, and then we'll move on to the next message. But there's always a new dawn that is breaking in the 10 of Swords. And it's basically saying, sometimes you have to have that like straw that breaks the camel's back before you're ready to move on. So here it is. So we see right behind that person, very dramatic card, but we have a new day. The clouds are clearing, and this person is going to move on. This isn't the end. It's an end, but not the end. So something's coming to a close. You had to get uncomfortable to see it come to a close. There's repair, and after this comes the Page of Swords, because we're going up in the suit, so you're going to be fine. You just have to, for whatever reason, Swords makes you go through this last thing sometimes before you get into finding your voice. Maybe that's why. Sometimes you need to lose your voice before you realize how important it is. For anyone that's had laryngitis or a cold, you know what I'm talking about. So I feel like many of you are just finding your voice in rising or ascendant. Once you've found it, it's never going to be silenced again. Okay, let's move on to Moon. We have the High Priestess, ostensibly one of the best of the three here. She sees things, she knows what she wants, she knows how to do it, and like I was showing you with the Altar Priestess, part of the magic here is the ritual, the belief, and the preparation. It doesn't just happen overnight. The High Priestess represents that. In order for magic to work, there are reagents, there are incantations, there's all that stuff that you have to do, and you have to show up, and most importantly, you have to believe it. So she believes in what she's doing. If she's working hard, if she's putting her best foot forward, she knows that, and when she delivers it, other people know that too. So know who you are, know what you want, and when you see something coming, do something about it. That ship here is not going to crash into the iceberg because she sees the iceberg and she's going to navigate. So it's a good month for moon sign. You can, honestly, that's like one of the best divine feminine cards in the deck because she has queen-like energy and she's magical. So who could ask for anything more? So you can do and get what you want to do and get this month. So focus on that. Focus on possibilities. Keep showing up. Keep believing. Other people will as well. Okay, we're going to do something different today. I like to shake things up. We're not going to do the meditation and sound bath because that will extend this too far. And I want to do 4 quarters of next year because I think that's what you guys want for a first reading of 2023. So we'll have plenty of time. I'll still do that on the weekend. But I think today you'd rather get some New Year's stuff. So I'm going to pull a few cards for the new year. 4 cards for the 4 quarters of the year. And we'll look at it in those sort of combinations. All right, so first quarter, second quarter, some good stuff in the second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. Okay, I'll try to break down the months as I do it. So looking at January, February, and March 1st, the first quarter of the year, we have the Knight of Swords coming through in reverse. This is a period during which you may feel like you're constantly chasing things. You're acting really fast, you're running really fast. There's a lot going on. So rapid movement, we like, but pace yourself. Find a break in that sort of never-ending sort of sprint. Make sure that you don't lose yourself, right? The power of the written and spoken word. She's literally sailing in on a, a quill, right? And we can see all the words on her dress there. So you're being asked to walk the walk and talk the talk. You're being held accountable to what you said you were going to do. Did you do it? You want to make sure that it's done in January, February, and March. That's the important and most integral piece there. Might be a time where you're also writing a lot, signing contracts, or you're just very busy. But I like it. It's a very sort of active beginning to the new year. So January, February, and March, a lot going on. So April, May, and June would be the next quarter of the year. It's the breakout moment. So we have the star in reverse. The star in reverse is still the star. So there's a revelation, there's a spotlight shining on you, and you're being asked to not dim your light or to hold back. So it's kind of interesting that this falls over, the reincarnation energy around Easter and spring. Doesn't matter. You don't have to celebrate Easter to see spring energy or fall for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, but there's a change of season. And that is an opportunity to either wake up or for things to kind of go dormant. So a very powerful period, especially April and May for you, to come out of your shell. So you're going to have plenty of time to plan and get it all ready. Don't drag your feet. Once April comes along, set yourself a reminder and say, all right, I have to start doing this. If I don't now, when am I going to? You don't want to miss a connecting flight energetically. And I feel like as long as you get things going by June, you'll be in a good space. The star card is not afraid to say, this is who I am, and this is what I want to do, and this is what I stand for. Even if people have questions, have concerns, don't totally understand what's going on, you're doing exactly what you need to do, okay? So trust in your capacity, trust in your ability, and good things await you if you do that. There could be a little bit more scrutiny, a little bit more visibility for you, but by and large, this is going to be positive and it's bringing you to a better outcome. Let me see if there's anything else with the star that we need to, just don't limit your, how far you're reaching. Because if you don't reach far enough or high enough, you could be holding yourself back and you don't want to do that, okay? So now going past the mid part to, let me just make sure that I got this right, July, August, September. Yeah, so July, August, and September is the next quarter. We have the 9 of Wands in reverse. This is a really interesting 9 of Wands. We see a person that has a blouse here that has all these sort of patches on it, and she's standing right in front of a rose. So the Nine of Wands itself represents the ability to overcome setbacks, pain, bruises. A lot of times you'll see the person with a bandage on their head. So we still see some symbolic scars there. And so the difficult thing for you at this point of the year is not to give up, not to lose momentum, and not to let someone push you around. If we look at the journey so far, first quarter, using your voice, finding your voice and making sure that you're active. You've got a lot to do. You've got a lot to say. Second quarter, not holding back from who you are, stepping into the spotlight unabashedly and just going for it. Well, that's been a busy beginning of the year, so there is some exhaustion setting in for Q3. So as you get into July, August, and September, pace yourself, take more frequent breaks. You couldn't do it as much in January, February, and March, but you can in July, August, and September. So do that. And then if there's anything that needs to be healed, the thorns, go for that. Remember that everything has pros and cons. Life is very rarely all positive or all negative. So a rose represents the trade-off between positive and negative. So as long as you are, finding that balance and walking that walk, I think you're going to be okay. This is also like the cat that has 9 lives. So if there's anything that has held you back or pushed you down, this is when you come back and say, game is not over. It's like in an old arcade game when you had an extra life. I don't remember, I think Pac-Man used to have that. If you ate something, you would get like an extra life. So it's almost like a +1 life. And someone thought that they had kind of like bashed you down, but you're like, nope, one more time. I'm popping right back up. I got more to give. So this is when you come through and you finish what you set out to finish. And then we end the year on a pretty positive note here as we're looking at, what would this be, October, November, and December. We have the 7 of Wands in reverse. The good news with 7 of Wands is you can make anything happen. With the card in reverse, though, there's probably this need to prove yourself to others. You may have to push a little bit. And in order for people to do what they need to do, you might have to really remind them, say, I'm not asking, I'm saying I need you to work on this. There's a little bit of bossiness that comes along with it. I'm going to pull up the traditional card here for just a moment, because I talked about this the other day when I was doing the members video. But there's kind of like a fine line between getting frustrated and just being strong. So the person in the 9 of Wands has a little bit more cool, calm, collected energy. In the 7 of Wands, they're not quite there yet. And sometimes you can get stressed out. So you don't want to see them, you don't want to let them see you sweat or be nervous. And you don't want to let someone get the better of your patience or kind of thought process. So know that you can do everything, but you don't have to do everything. If someone tries to push you to do something, push back. But don't engage in arguments, don't get caught up in things. And ultimately, the 7 of Wands means that you'll also finish what you set out to do. Let's look at the overall year in these 4 quarters. I like the beginning, possibly the best. You're going to probably blink your eyes and you'll be, in April before you know it, because the Knight of Swords reverse is like 4 of Swords reverse. There's just a lot going on. Try not to speak without thinking, I will say, with the Knight of Swords. Just make sure that you're being thoughtful and knowing that those words are going to stick around. Your magical part of the year is actually Q2. So again, April, May, and June, this is when everything starts to really come into focus for you. The star card is great. You can continue to ride that wave a little bit into the 3rd quarter, but there could be some snags along the way, illustrated by the rose bush. Don't give up. That's the main message with the 9 of Wands. So you have 3 quarters that are really good. There's a little bit of energy starting to diminish towards the end of the year, but this is still a powerful card. Literally, we have a strong man here. It just means that you might have to push a little bit more for things to happen, where in the 2nd quarter, they just happen. So don't give up. You didn't get any card that I see that is showing significant issues. Just that if I had to summarize the 2nd quarter, there's a little bit more effort required in both of these cards. You can see it. She's got to say, I'm not done yet, and that didn't take me down. And he's got to keep pushing for what's necessary. But by and large, you can get everything you want as long as you keep showing up. Okay? So that's the compressed year at a glance. We'll be doing a different version of that when I'll basically take each month. So if you want something granular, that's my New Year's Eve special. I will go for each month and we'll pull 3 cards. And then I might go through all the signs. We'll see if I have time. That's a lot already. Maybe I'll do that for the members video. I might go through all the signs and pull a card or 2 of advice. But by and large, that's what I'm seeing here for you, and it looks pretty darn good. So I think we are at perfect timing here. Let me look at how long I've been talking here. And I'm trying to see if it would make sense. Yeah, we're at 1:30. I think that's good. I think for this month, we'll just hold on the meditation so that we keep these at a reasonable pace. If you really want me to put it in, you can put it in the comments below and I can add it in maybe in the next one. Or maybe I'll do the sound bath. But I feel like this gives you exactly what you need, and I try to keep these more digestible. So let me know if you like that. All right, before we stop, I'd like to say, please hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already. Give me a follow on social media as well. And remember that you can always give back with Super Stickers, Super Chat, and memberships. I'm starting to do unique things for the members now too. Remember that if you do follow me on social media, I don't offer private readings. Okay, and I don't use direct messages. Give me a moment here just to say thanks to everybody for showing up, and then we'll wrap up for today. All right, so I would like to say welcome to the newest members today. Looks like we have, let's see, is it Cuffy Ayo? Thank you so much and welcome, brand new member here. And let's see, rejoining is Megan Regina after 13 months, a year and a month. Thank you so much. Let's see, it's J Lola for me. Thank you so much for joining, brand new member. And it looks like Estefani Turns, also brand new member. And let's see, Yogini Soul. And I think, let's see, there's still a few. There was a bunch of people that joined yesterday. So I'll just say it. Ina Minor, Jeannie Young, Shweta Sathayai. I can't even say the last name. So Shweta, thank you very much. Let's see, Derek Kowski, Jenny Gao, GBRLLK, thank you. Lisa Daniels, JD, Sandra Rath, Sarah Shed, Megan Seaman, let's see, Maven, Nellie D, I'm just going to say Nellie D, thank you very much, and Savannah East. Some tricky names today. All right, and let's go to Super Stickers and Super Chats, and then we'll wrap it up. All right, today, giving back, thank you so much to Emma Sharp and Renita Ray as well. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Looks like there was one more here. Katie Shore, thank you. And let's see if I missed anybody. I think that's it. So thank you so much. So listen, I'm trying to keep these not too long because otherwise these go on and on and on. So what I could do here is maybe end with a sound bath and then that's it, rather than the meditation, because I added 3 cards that added a lot of time, or 4 cards that added a lot of time. I don't want these to be 2 hours a piece. And I want people to be able to digest them without them taking too long. So I'm going to do a poll. You guys can decide if you want me to do a sound bath for those that remain, and you can tell me. Otherwise, we'll just wrap it up. So you can say yes or no and let me know. And in the meantime, thank you so much to everybody for showing up today. A reminder of my schedule. I'm live every Monday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. I also do intermittent sort of impromptus like I did yesterday. Sometimes I throw in extra ones. I'll be doing a retrograde video this month as well. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I also do, okay, we'll do a sound bath. I also do daily tarot readings, and that's all my offerings at present, but I change it up from month to month, and I change up the format from time to time. All right, everyone really wants a sound bath. So we're going to end with a sound bath. No meditation today because of the extra cards, unless I get a bunch of comments, and I'll try to pull it all in. Do me a favor on the replay. If you like all of this, definitely comment. Again, like I said, I need your support on that. All right, so let's relax, enjoy. What we'll do is an abbreviated meditation today. Since you had the star energy, just imagine that you are standing out in the middle of the night with a bright star shining down on you, and just embrace in that starlight. Know that you are a part of your own creative process. Connect to that source. Remember that you and only you can identify who you are, what you want, and what you stand for. As you stand in the light of this star, you understand that no matter what that is for you, it's okay. So just breathe and feel guided and open up to what the star in your higher self wants to show you. All right. Imagine that you could take some of that starlight and create a circle around your body and seal in the intention of whatever it is that you want to create in your life. Know that you are the creator. You alone hold the power. You alone hold the key. So do something with that in the new year and give yourself as much time as you need in December to decide how, when, and what you want to do. You always have the power. You always hold the key. I like to remind people of their own power, their own capacity. I'm just here to help you see the signs along the way. So yeah, we'll look at a final card before we wrap up. If you have one last question for me, now is the time to ask it. Do so silently. We'll pull a card, and then that is everything for today, folks. All right, so open your eyes if you haven't already. Ask your question, and we'll close with the final card. All right, so we got an affirmative card here, the Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups is a yes, and it indicates a chance for love, for some fun, for some healing of the heart. This is a very unique Queen of Cups in that she is basically showing that there doesn't have to be the same sort of like delineation between divine masculine, divine feminine that there used to be. There's definitely this capacity to blur the lines a little bit. The seahorse in this particular illustration, again, is a reminder that the divine masculine can step up a little bit because seahorses, the male seahorse carries the eggs after they've been fertilized. So, and then basically gives birth. It's a unique sort of thing. So, for you, there's also this understanding in this moment that you don't have to hold on to everything. It can be enough for you to begin something and then hand it off. It can be enough for you to sort of be in a leadership role. You don't have to see every single thing from soup to nut to make sure that it's done. So it's sharing the love and sharing the load and delegating, which is going to come in really handy in the latter part of 2023 when we saw the 9 and then the 7 of Wands. You're going to have less energy, less time. There's going to be more need to be the Queen of Cups, to lead with passion, to lead with kindness, but also to let go of certain things and let someone else carry the load a little bit, okay? There could be a water sign coming into your life. If it is, it's kind of interesting. It could be a male, even though we've got the Queen of Cups, because it's a seahorse. So this would be someone that's very kind, very compassionate, very caring, and I like that. All right. That, my friends, is everything for today. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks for being patient because I got to experiment with the sort of format. Given that everybody wants it, I think what I'll do is a very abbreviated meditation in future videos, like I did here, like less than a minute, and then the sound bath, and then the final card. So thanks for helping me. Because you were the first that I did this for this month, it'll get easier as I go through all the signs. Wishing you lots of love and light. Take a look at the members video if you're a member. It's posted on the members tab. I did a bunch of stuff for like this moment in time, and we'll keep doing at least one of those per month now. All right, everyone. Lots of love and light to you. Have a great day. I'm going to go walk Apollo. He's sitting by the door saying he's ready for his walk. In the meantime, take care. Bye-bye.